You want to learn about your voice. Which style of voice teaching should you be learning from? So I had a good discussion with a fellow performer about lineages. We were talking about lineages of clown. Who taught us clown, or who taught us fooling, which is a particular type of clown that I do. And it becomes very confusing as to where all of the kind of the methods for teaching these things come from. And as a voice teacher is something that I kind of think about quite a lot, really, because I'm also a researcher. I like to credit people for exercises, and there is a bit of a kind of uncertainty as about, like, where do all of these exercises that I use, where do they come from? And if you're kind of going into the world of going, okay, I need a voice coach for something, it could be confusing to go, okay, well, what type of voice coach do I need? So today I'm going to talk very, very briefly about 10 different like lineages of voice coaching that influence me as a teacher of voice. If you are interested in voice, by the way, sign up to this YouTube channel, hit the bell icon, tell you that first, before we dive straight in with number one, who's probably the most important voice teacher for me, really, which is Catherine Owen, who was my mum. She is my mum. She still exists. But when I was growing up, she was the head of voice at Queen Margaret University Conservatoire acting course. So I learned a lot from her. And in terms of lineage, she has sort of, we have a kind of very shared lineage, at least when I started doing voice coaching 9 years ago, or whatever it was. And so a kind of direct step up from her, number two, is Barbara Houseman. So Barbara Houseman, I've only been taught once by Barbara Houseman, but my mum was taught by her quite a lot. She's a family friend, and her style of teaching, my mum once described as a bit like a magpie. I don't know whether Barbara would agree with that, but like, she sort of takes bits from here and there and kind of forms them into a teaching experience. And I've certainly kind of taken that philosophy into what I learn. And I do actually go to her book. She's got a very good book. I'm not going to name the names of people's books because I've got a terrible memory. But Barbara's book is a great one to go to first because they're very clear, the exercises. So when I'm like putting together a workshop or something, and I'm like, okay, I need an exercise for this, I'll go to her book first because it's not got much fluff in it. It's just got, okay, it's got little pictures and it's got like how to do the exercise, and then I go, okay, I can teach this. So it's a really useful one as a sort of tome of different techniques and yeah, exercises. So Barbara's is maybe got this kind of shared magpie-esque lineage. Another person, number three, is Patsy Rodenburg. So, I mean, I've met Patsy Rodenburg. I've read a few of her books, and I am drawn to her. I think maybe not from like an exercise perspective. I do kind of pull exercises from her book sometimes, but I think they're not. I don't know. They're not the easiest ones for me to personally to consume. But what I do like particularly is her kind of the kind of philosophy of voice. So she's got this kind of model of the second circle of energy, or the three circles of energy when you're a performer, which I won't go into. But I use that a lot because it very much aligns with my background in Zen Buddhism, which is all about kind of presence and things. So this is one of those examples of someone who's like put together this whole. It's got a whole book on presence and a whole book on the second circle. So I really appreciate that. So I go there from there. She's also massively influential within the world of actor training within the United Kingdom, which is a big background from my lineage of voice. Then we must go to number four now, Cicely Berry. So Cicely Berry is, I think of her as like, if you've got all these voice coaches who teach in the United Kingdom, it's very UK specific. They've all got these sort of shared lineages, and I think Cicely Berry is probably quite close to the top there, in that she sort of started all of this. It's hard to say really, because like in terms of acting training, they come from all over the place, So people learn from each other and people pick up exercises from each other. But one of the things is that she has the book, which is called like The Voice in the Actor or something, which is like this seminal book in voice teaching. It's a bit outdated in terms of how it thinks about the physiology, really, but a lot of people have drawn from this and have learned a lot from it during their acting. So she's this. I think she's probably like a shared common lineage. That is one of my kind of key common lineages. The other is the Alexander technique. So number 5 is Michael McCallion. Also, never met Michael McCallion, but he's got a brilliant book which very clearly describes things about the voice and the body in such a way that I'll read a sentence and I will be like, come on, that's exactly what I've been struggling with teaching or something, and he just puts it in such a clear way. And his background is the Alexander technique. So I suppose the common lineage here is F.M. Alexander, who developed the Alexander technique, which is about posture, kind of loosely. It's about use, it's about how you're using your body. And the idea of the Alexander technique from a voice perspective is that if your body is released of all these kind of unnecessary tensions that we have, then the voice will come out clearly. And there's a lot of shared stuff around the Alexander technique in all of these different lineages of voice that I use. So Michael McCallion is like, I think, probably one of the kind of easiest ways to go into that for the voice specifically, because he's got a very good book on it, and there are some videos of him teaching as well, which is helpful. Number 6, I think we're on to. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Is Kristin Linklater. Now, I'm not actually sure how much Kristin Linklater is in my teaching, but you will see her name all over the place. And I wonder, as the researcher who looks into these things, how much of the fact that she sort of shows up all over the place is because she's this like documented, certifiable way of teaching voice. So there is a process. You can become a Linklater certified teacher, and people do, and there are very few of those in the world of voice actually. There's like that, there's Linklater, and then there's like Estill, and then of course, I mean, people can go and I think maybe Roy Hart. I don't know much about Roy Hart, so I won't talk about that, but I'm interested in learning more about Roy Hart. I've avoided it so far because you can only learn so many things in 9 years. But yes, Linklater is quite kind of spiritual, I think of it, in the way that it's written in the book. And as a sort of technical person, when I first came into the world of voice, I was a bit sort of, I'm not sure about all this spiritual language. Now I understand it. I think it's quite useful to use visualizations when we're talking about something that has like alien to people as their voice. People have often not thought of their voice, so thinking about it in purely technical terms is quite difficult for people because they can't even feel their own larynx because they haven't trained that kind of it's not proprioception, the feeling of the inside of their own body. There's another word, interoception, I think, as well. And it's so Linklater is good because she provides like just these sort of images. So there's one exercise that my mum used to use about thinking of the voice in terms of a department store, old-time department store with a lift, and then you're going up and down. And what you're doing there is like playing around with the resonance, but you're doing it in this way that is like this big image has been created, and it's quite useful. So I don't actually go back to that book very often because I have to sort of debug or like translate it from all of this flowery language, but I mean that's my own personal feelings as like an engineering researchy person, but it's undeniable that I do use a bunch of exercises that come from her. 7, I think we're on. We're get through these quickly. Is Angela Caine. Now I never really think about Angela Caine, which is very unfair. I often use her book. She's got this book which also has a tape in it. The version that I've got is from decades ago, so it's got like an old cassette tape, and she incorporated things like Pilates and like she did exercises like jumping on a trampoline and things, and so they're very they're quite fun. The book looks almost like a kid's book with loads of pictures and stuff, and they're very sort of playful, which me as a clown, I'm thinking I should revisit them really, because I do always go to her book when I need something that's fun. I'm like, okay, have fun, like an enjoyable exercise. But yes, I don't know why I don't think. I think maybe it's because of that. It's such a small book, and I sort of don't think of it as serious as these other lineages I'm talking about. And she doesn't show up in the research literature very much. But I think that's actually unfair. And yeah, it should be more of a shout out to Angela Caine, who developed the voice gym, which I didn't even know about until I started researching for this video. Yes, so that is a person. Definitely one I go back to quite often. and our family home is like filled with trampolines, as has for all my life. I know it's just been a storage place for little trampolines and wobble boards, which are like planks of wood with a pipe underneath, because that's the method that Angela Caine taught in terms of how to learn balance in your body. Is you're being on a wobble board, which is pretty fun actually. Now we're going to move to Jo Estill. Now this is what number? Oh goodness, I'm terrible at numbers. 5, 6, 7, 8. Number 8, Jo Estill. So for me personally, as a teacher, Jo Estill looks very much at the kind of at the larynx and the stuff above the body, and in a way kind of ignores the fact that the body is connected to the voice, which I don't really agree with. However, what she does look at, and it's very research backed, is like all of the little muscular changes that can affect the sound of the voice. And so this was the first time when I went and did Learn Estill, was the first time I kind of moved away, very much away from this kind of the background that my mum had kind of started me on. Not started me on intentionally, just like that was the stuff I knew. And I went and started learning Estill and learnt about all of the kind of resonators up here and the muscles, and I was like, okay, this is cool. And it is a fun toolbox to play with once you already know how to use your voice well. But I would say that you need to know how to use your voice well before you start playing with that toolbox. But there's loads of research into it, and it's a really meaty model. We're moving on to number 9, and then this is me personally, really, is clown. So I've learned clown. I've learned fooling, which is a type of clown. There's a whole background of lineages there that I'm not even going to talk about, but certainly my learning of clown has influenced how I teach the voice. I try to keep things playful. The way I set up workshops is sort of influenced by my clown teachers, probably more than by people who have taught me voice. And yeah, there's just so much in that. I'm not even going to go into it, but clown is definitely an impact. And finally, number 10 is the research. So I am doing an MA in voice research. So now I go to the research, and there are people like Ingo Titzi, I'm not sure that's how to pronounce it. Ken Bozeman, who like talk about the acoustics of the voice, and then there's tons of different research backgrounds. Interestingly, for me at least, all of these like other lineages, many of them that I talk about, that they don't show up in the research literature very much because they're practical acting based literature or methodologies and things. That's the wrong word. They're not all methodologies, but they're a corpus of pedagogy. Of teaching style. So I have this view into the world of research and draw things from then. But really, I mean, I would say in terms of actual teaching style, I tend to draw from all of these. So there you go. There are 10 different people from within the world of teaching of the voice that me personally I am influenced by. And if you're kind of looking for a voice coach, will this be a useful video for you? I don't know, but it maybe shows why it's a bit of a complex thing. And I suppose what I would say is I would warn you against people who say this is the way to teach voice. Because there's still people who learn the Estill method, for example, they will often go, this is the way to teach voice. Not all of them, but like, I don't know. That's the impact I see. And it is not. It is only one aspect of voice. And knowing a little bit about all of it is helpful, of course, but really it should be what are you trying to achieve with your voice at the moment right now, and therefore which of these lineages, which of these ways of looking at the voice is going to be most helpful for you in this moment to learn what you need to learn. And I mean, it's going to be hard to understand or to give you a clear answer based on this video, but you can see what breadth of options there are. So there you go. That was a pretty long video, but there was a whole 10 different lineages talked about there. And if you're interested in voice and learning about your own voice, sign up to this YouTube channel, hit the bell icon, follow me on Instagram, TikTok. If you're interested in signing up to the waitlist to learn more about the Voice Lab online program that's running in the new year, then sign up. There's a link down there. You can get emails about that. That's all for today. It was pretty research heavy, but hopefully useful to at least somebody.